No, I think there's a variety of reasons for each different personal reasons, and certainly starting and raising a family is part of that. And that's the thing is if male or female, if they once they start a family, if they want to stay home and that's something they're able to do, absolutely, that's a wonderful opportunity. And a lot of people who make that choice, male or female, that is certainly great. But knowing that you can have both if you want it, whether you're a woman or a man, I think is an important note.
Welcome to MeatsPad, a platform dedicated to sharing breakthrough knowledge that is accessible to the meats industry. On each episode, we will hear from meat specialists and professionals to talk about numerous topics in meat science. This podcast is brought to you by the U.S. Meat Export Federation, the National Provisioner, UltraSource, the new standard for innovation,
IFA, Meat Processing Power.
Viscofan is a global leader and innovative partner in the food industry who provides solutions for the casing market.
Hello, meat folks. Welcome back to the MeatsPad podcast. Super excited. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome back, Dr. Bass. It seems like I haven't talked to you for a while.
Yeah, I know. We've all been busy during the holiday season and out and about. Hopefully everyone's getting a chance to take a little bit of a break. I know it's a really busy time for our friends out in the meat industry. But again, hopefully it all went well. I know there's definitely still a lot of challenges out there, but I know we're going to overcome them. And welcome 2022. And with that welcome, I'd like to welcome our two guests. Is that all right, Francisco?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Well, we have two amazing ladies on the line with us. KatieRose McCullough from the North American Meat Institute and Cheyenne McEndaffer from U.S. Meat Export Federation, joining us to talk a little bit about women in the meat industry, a good topic, a solid topic, and something that definitely needs to be visited about. So welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, excited to be here. Thanks.
So both of you are a part of an organization, and it's women. Well, tell me, what is it? WMIN, right?
Go ahead, KatieRose. KatieRose came up with our acronym. So.
Okay.
I don't know. I think it was a group effort, but yes, women. We have our acronym purposely so that when you send it out, it says WMIN. We are the Women's Meat Industry Network. And so it was a group of us ladies that had really come together and decided, there really needs to be some networks of discussion about women's place and role in the meat industry and being able to support each other and the diverse perspectives that women bring to advance our industry forward in all different types of arenas, whether it's in something that, Cheyenne and I get to work on the more technical front, or if it's in further advancement in other leadership and operations and in sales and in marketing. They provide a unique perspective alongside of our male colleagues.
So to add to what KatieRose said, I mean, the meat industry is a pretty small community anyway, right? When you get down to it. So, but when we look at women within the meat industry, we're also looking at bringing in other sectors that we typically don't see at, I would say, technical meat conferences, et cetera. So that would be retail, food service. It could be allied industries like packaging, chemical suppliers, et cetera. So we realized there were subsets of women in different sectors that worked with or were aligned with the meat industry, but weren't really built into a community yet. So the goal was to bring those different sectors, which I see us all as part of the larger meat industry, but broader than the group, we may be typically communicating with on the technical side, Q&A, R&D, et cetera, specifically working in plants or, for packers, et cetera.
Yeah, when Dr. Bass brought this to the table, like, hey, we have this very small ladies that want to talk about the importance of women in the meat industry, and I think we're connected somehow, because I just had a very good conversation on our podcast in Spanish with a person who is very important in the industry in Mexico, and during that episode, I was bringing up the fact that I have two daughters, 2 and 4 years old, and I think motivating women is very important for the meat industry, but for the food industry in general. So I think there is a role of the woman in a meeting that I was recently in Mexico. There were like 40 people, everyone in the meat industry in Mexico, and there were only 2 ladies, and they were young, about 20, 21. They were in the senior year, and one of her asked a question like, "How can we bring more women in the meat industry? Because it seems like sometimes it's scary for women to be around a lot of men." So I don't know. Can you please? I think it's a little bit of a long question, but how do you tell other young women they're starting in their career to motivate them that this is not only a man's job. There's a lot of opportunities out there in the meat industry for women like you.
Great question. I'll take an initial stab at that, and I'm sure Cheyenne will add on. Is, we seem very polarizing in the industry a little bit, because if you look at academia, and I'm sure Dr. Bass can speak to this, women are making up a lot of the young talent, the young technical talent that is studying meat science and wanting to go into the industry. And so we have very well representation, sometimes over the majority in that sector, but we don't see it translated throughout the entire industry, right? You can sit down and look at big, large rooms full of board of directors and decision makers, and the vast majority of them are men. And so it's the representation of knowing that someone that is a woman, their place is still in the industry, and you're not alone. We do exist. We are here. We are working in the industry. And how can we support each other and encourage them to show them that there are opportunities? And like Cheyenne mentioned, it's not just the, in an R&D or in a technical role, but where we've seen a lot of really, again, great reach out is in that type of food service or retail community that's working in procurement or meat buyers and whatnot, knowing that, oh my gosh, there is this great network. Maybe I'm just not seeing them, or they're not attending conferences like RMC. A lot of that group doesn't go to an RMC unless you're working in R&D or you're working in a more technical role. So where do we get the women that are leading sales for the major companies? Where are we getting them that are in finance, and giving them an avenue where, they can motivate and tell these young women that, no, it's not just the stereotypical old boys club like you think. There are women that are part of it, working around just alongside our male colleagues. Cheyenne, I don't know if you have anything else to add there.
Yeah, in addition to the various sectors that we see, either a lot of women, like you said, academia, or very few women, I would say operations, for example. In addition to that, we've also learned a lot from groups like the Meat Business Women based out of the UK that did a gender representation report in the meat industry a couple of years ago that said 5% of C-suite is women, essentially, globally, from the countries that they surveyed. So there's a lot of women at the junior level, and then it significantly drops off, and that's across the board, of different meat industry roles. So we're also looking at how can we provide tools and resources to keep those women in the industry, because maybe they get in and they leave for whatever reason, or they're not advancing for certain reasons. We're just not seeing that in middle management and up. So that's something that we're really focused on as well. And that's beneficial. That's one of our selling points to our sponsors and the companies we're working with, is because it's been shown that having a more diverse leadership team is more profitable, right? So we're not doing all these things and saying that the companies won't get benefit from retention of talent and recruitment of that key talent as well. So it's really multifaceted, and bringing them in, keeping them in, and then helping them to rise.
Right. Well, and KatieRose, you hit it right on the head. I teach in the animal science department. That's my day job at the University of Idaho. And across the country, animal science departments are very much, very much a large population of women, high percentage. And it is a great opportunity to find those very intelligent technical expertise out of that pool for future employers that are out there. And you also mentioned something really great, Cheyenne. You got to have different minds. We have to have that diversity in the leadership teams. If you don't have different thought processes or just different minds working through challenges or questions, you don't need that big leadership team. If everyone's just there to say yes, then I mean, you could economize that leadership team pretty darn quickly. But you're absolutely right. We do need that additional leadership, different perspective, different thought processes, and you also mentioned that that's what WMIN is trying to do. Can you give us just a little bit more detail on some of those services that WMIN provides for stakeholders?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that we've spent 2 years now trying to sort out, and it's going to continue to evolve this year as we officially open to membership. So we really have 3 priorities or focus areas: networking, and that's going to be building upon what really is out there. So we have plenty of conferences around the meat industry, right? We are not going to make any more, but are there opportunities to create networking events there? Probably some virtual as well, with the world we live in currently, et cetera, to help build this community, like we said, and bring in those other sectors that feel like they don't really have any other community or know of any other women in the industry. So networking's a big priority. Second of which is mentoring. So we envision, we're lucky in the US that we have a huge number of people to pull from, and we have different sectors, different management levels of folks. So really figuring out whether it's a mentor portal or, something along those lines to match up. Are you wanting to learn about moving into middle management? Are you wanting to learn about moving into C-suite? Do you want to find other folks in food service, et cetera, and, hear how they moved up in the industry? So we will be building out a mentor portal. We have a committee working on that, yet to be seen. And I should say this is not gender exclusive in the sense that we will only have female mentors. I mean, that's absolutely not our intent. And, my 2 main mentors in school at Colorado State University were men. So we want men to be involved in this process as well, because they're huge mentors to many, many women in the industry. So we'll build in that as well. I want to make sure it doesn't sound exclusive, because that's not the case. And then lastly is professional development. So we already have great resources. Obviously, AMSA is one, providing a lot of technical, the monthly webinars, trainings, Pork 101s, et cetera. But what are some other technical topics we can bring in, like a maintenance 101? How do you read a financial statement? How do you prepare for a performance review, et cetera? And then, other professional development topics like asking for a raise, asking for a promotion, imposter syndrome, et cetera. So looking again, probably virtual offerings initially, but really once we start bringing members on this year, which we will hopefully become officially public by the end of the month, to get that feedback. What are topics that you're not getting elsewhere? We know there are other women in ag, women in industry groups. We do not seek to replace anybody, but we heard enough voices that there was a need for this, and we really see us being complementary with those 3 areas of focus to fill a void that was clearly there based on what we've been hearing. And I think it'll fit well into the existing opportunities that, other industry associations offer.
Since 1883, Ultrasource has been a trusted supplier to the food industry. Ultrasource provides superior kill floor, processing, packaging, and labeling equipment and operational supplies.
Carla Suarez was the name of the person that I spoke with about this specifically. We're looking into this perspective in Latin America, and when I asked her what some of the factors that she has identified. I mean, you mentioned a little bit later than we talk about junior and after junior position, you see that tendency of women leaving the industry. And one thing that she said, and I asked her a lot of questions, but one thing that helped her from the very beginning, and just going back to the family, is how her dad empowered her since she was a child. Like in a way that us as parents is very important, just give it some incentives to motivate our children to say it's just very diverse. And this goes to the next question about what do you think? Have you guys looked at some like other reasons why women leave? I mean, is it because of maternity? Is it because of they get demotivated, or I don't know if you have that answer.
I think there's a variety of reasons for each different personal reasons, and certainly starting and raising a family is part of that. And that's the thing is if male or female, if they once they start a family, if they want to stay home and that's something they're able to do, absolutely, that's a wonderful opportunity. And a lot of people who make that choice, male or female, that is certainly great. But knowing that you can have both if you want it, whether you're a woman or a man, I think is an important note. I think advancement or pathways to see advancement is something we hear often from women, but also, drilling into the why, as you're talking about, Francisco, is something that's more important. So if we do feel that there's barriers for women in our industry, why is that? And how do we have an open conversation about it? And how do we provide the industry support for keeping and retaining that female talent, like Cheyenne said. So I don't know if we really have an outline list of reasons why to say, oh, well, it seems to me X% of women have given this reason why they've left the industry. I think that's something we're hoping to continue to grow in as women, to talk about, again, get to the root of why. Is there certain blockades that are changing or causing them to leave the industry for other industries? Is it starting a family, which again is a great reason and great opportunity for them, or is it something else? And so that's something again that we hope to be able to identify.
I think culture is set up very well right now, and I think your timing is exactly where it needs to be. A lot of folks are realizing that we do need to have more of that diversity in the thought in the leadership teams. And I'll tell you, anybody that has had a chance to go to the website, and by the way, it's WMIN.org. Check it out. If you have had a chance to take a look at that website, some of the ladies that are listed on there, I will tell you, are some of the most influential people in the meat industry right now. There's no question about that. And for those who out there, especially young ladies or anyone else that feels like you can't strive to meet your goals, look at the successes that are there. I mean, you have over half of them either have a president, vice president, or chief in front of their title that are listed on that website. You have Dr. Carol Lorenzen who's the department head at Oregon State University. You have a number of individuals, and of my beloved American Meat Science Association, our CEO Colette Castor leading the charge there. And so there's no question that like you say, KatieRose, the talent, the intelligence, and the drive is there in our female population, and we're growing that absolutely in our universities right now. And so I really would encourage our meat processors, large, small, medium, everybody in between, to really consider this direction more so than maybe we have in the past. And one of you mentioned, yeah, historically it used to be the good old boys club. I would say that times are changing, and like I said, you guys are ripe for the picking, and this is exactly the time to be coming out with this movement to really encourage young and old alike ladies to enter into the meat industry. It's very rewarding. It's good paying, and I'd tell you, we need that help. We just need the labor force, period, end right there, right? There's no question about it.
Tell us all about that.
There's
Yeah.
a bonus sign on the meat industry.
Oh my goodness.
Please come in.
I mean, I don't care if you have a third arm growing out of the top of your head. We will take you, and we will gratefully have you on our team. Something I do want to tell our meat processors out there that are listening. Nobody asked me to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. If you're looking for anybody to help consult your business, take a look at that listing that's on there, because like I said, very influential ladies and folks that can get us connected with others in the industry who may have answers if they do not. And so make sure you reach out and take a look at all of that.
Yeah, I want to comment on that. We are certainly very lucky to have just an outstanding group of women that have come together. And again, an important note that I definitely want to say has really been important to our board of directors. And something that Cheyenne and I first put our heads together in this years ago to start talking about this as well. But that role of male mentors and really just male allies, I think, is so important. I think all of them will tell you about. And so we really want to talk about some of the sponsors that we initially have come from male allies pushing for sponsorship of this organization. I mean, our initial sponsors include some of the best companies here in the meat industry, Cargill, Clemens, American Foods Group, Seaboard, Pork Checkoff, and then of course, Cheyenne and I's organizations providing in-kind support, but also marketing organizations like Fleshman Hillard to help us get our brand set up and make sure that we have our legal counsel write OFW law. We've had just a tremendous amount of outpouring from a great industry. And a lot of that goes to speak to the wonderful group of board of directors and strong women that we have leading this organization into its bright future.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, KatieRose. And the timing of this podcast is perfect because last year was a lot of admin, working on bylaws, getting an account set up so we could take sponsor money for any of those interested. But, I've identified these 3 goals and we've had those for over a year, but now the boots are on the ground. We are very much at the beginning of building out committees to implement this vision we see, and we're ready to welcome anybody that's interested to help us lay out this vision. And what we do this year, I hope, is different than what we do next year, because we were going to have an in-person event at AMC, for example. Obviously, plans change there. So we really are at the forefront of this. So anyone that wants to get involved, you haven't missed anything. You have a chance to help us build this into what the American meat industry, is looking to have this end up as. So it's really an exciting time, and we're excited to talk about it and build that interest now that we, have gone through all the legal fun of becoming official. So
I had just a quick follow-up. Do you have any word of advice for other young meat scientists, young women, they're studying meat science or in the food industry in general, that, maybe some of the things that worked out for you, maybe some things that really helped you become a meat professional, a meat industry leader that maybe you can suggest?
I think for me, it would be really truly taking advantages of opportunities that we offer here at WMIN and even part of AMSA. Both Cheyenne and I are avid AMSA members, have been for years. And so taking advantage of those opportunities, especially if you're still a student in very young professional, still a student or still just a young professional, there's a lot of things that outreach opportunities you have, and not being afraid to ask questions and really just soak that all in, be a sponge. Every opportunity that comes that way, I think, is super, super important. And it's easy to take kind of the shy route or to say, oh, I don't know if I'm comfortable at that. Step outside of your comfort zone and really, really soak those up. You don't know the huge network that's out here and available, ready to kind of help you give you a leg up or provide you advice if you're not taking advantage of those from things that our organization is trying to provide, or like I said, some of those other ones like AMSA tries to provide.
Yeah, my family started running a slaughter plant when I was 7. So I grew up in it. I didn't know any different. I went to school. I studied it. As we all know, our meat science grad programs are at least half, maybe even more women, so we were kind of in this bubble. And then depending on what sector of the industry you go to, I went into auditing, and then I quickly realized through auditing and working with plant leadership that I was the only female most of the time. So it's something I didn't even really think about because I just always been in it, and I felt comfortable. I felt like I belonged in the industry, but that was quite a jolt, to start doing audits. And, as you said, I'd be the only female in these rooms doing the audit recaps for weeks at a time, so, and then you can start questioning, and, you can start doubting yourself. But the reason all of us are here is because we love this industry. We're passionate about it, and we all bring something unique to it. So I think just building that confidence to say, I belong here, and these are, I don't know everything, and I'm not perfect, and I continue to learn, but these are the assets I bring to this job, this company, this school, this industry in total, and not doubting your place there, which is some of the feedback we've heard, which we really want to see what tools can we provide to say. It can be intimidating sitting in some of these situations, but your place is there, and you're critical to that company and that industry. So, I mean, that's really, I think, something that folks have to learn. And whether they've somehow ended up in the meat industry, grew up in the city, and just happened to end up in it at CSU or at any university, or they've been in it their whole lives. There's doubts that anyone has, regardless of gender, and how can the community provides that sense of belonging. I think that's what we're seeking at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a very good point. You have to be part of a community. American Meat Science Association is a great community. North American Meat Institute is a great community. USMEF. I mean, and just the meat industry in general is. But sometimes you got to have that kind of almost sub community, that little tight knit. And this is that opportunity to kind of just really pull some of those folks out that like you said, we have to empower, regardless of gender, regardless of background. You have to empower people to get over the hurdles that they think are there. And so often it's just a mind thing. So often it's like, well, I just can't do that because I'm XYZ. No, that's not it at all. And I would say, you want to talk about a diverse group of people. The meat industry is that far and wide. And this is just yet another way of expressing a great leadership base that we can pull from, and trying to just remind folks that historically, yes, the meat industry, like many other industries, has been a male-dominated industry, but that's changing. That's been changing as long as I've been involved in it, and I've had a couple years now, and we continue to grow that technical base. KatieRose, I think you mentioned it, but you said half of the graduate students, 100% of our graduate students are female, and we still teach beef carcass fabrication, and I expect them to be able to break down a chuck just like anyone else. And that is important. And don't let anything hinder you from doing that. Now they may need a little bit of additional help sometimes, depending on their size, to throw that chuck up in the air. But we make it happen, and it's all about technique, and you just work together and you figure things out. Something I do want to ask, and we ask a lot of our guests, is how did you get where you are? How did you get involved in the meat industry, and to the positions you're in today?
So, as I mentioned, my family started in the business when I was 7, so I didn't really have a choice. I spent all of my summers and all of my weekends working at the meat plant, but it was great, and that business continues today. It's about, well, I won't say how old it is. You can guess my age, but we're nearing a few decades. So, like I said, I didn't know any different. I think other girls my age were babysitting. I like meat better than babysitting, so I'm glad that worked out. But that really, I was just in it. I was on the slaughter floor from day one, and it was an incredible opportunity. And when I started school, is where I built and started working on certain projects for other grad students, et cetera, started traveling internationally and really developed a passion for the global meat industry. And like I said, I did food safety and animal welfare auditing for a couple of years, and then ended up at USMEF having an opportunity to really take that passion for the US meat industry. Also our producers, we raise cattle as well. So I live it every day, farm to fork, and highlight the messaging about why the US meat industry is so great. And I get to do that every day in my job in promoting US red meat abroad. So it was a natural fit to take that. And as someone told me, this is probably, one of those statements that kind of make your eyes roll, like you said, Phil, you get sometimes, but being a cheerleader, as someone called me, for the US meat industry, that's not how I would phrase it, but I love it. I mean, if it's something you're passionate about, I'm happy to travel around the world and tell everybody why our meat is great, our employees are great, our companies are great. Yeah, I've been lucky to have the opportunity to do that. So, KatieRose.
Thanks, Cheyenne. My story is a little bit different. I don't have that much experience in the meat industry before, but I was a 4-H and FFA kid, right? Growing up, I showed, and I let a 4-H leader convince me to join the meat judging team in high school, and he was someone that was extremely influential throughout the industry. And so kind of gave me the bug to join the meat judging team. I became really good at it and started getting recruited by colleges to go meat judge. And so if it wasn't for my high school 4-H leader, which was Paul Clayton, to get involved in meat judging, and that, hey, there is an industry called the meat industry and you can get a job in it. I don't know if I would have went to, go study meat science. And like I said, it really, those choices in meat judging got me a path and scholarship to go to school at Texas Tech, which then, actually, I remember standing in the CSU meat lab, and Paul made me promise him to at least get a master's. And I said, you're lucky I'm getting a bachelor's, but that's fine. I said that'll work. Fine, I'll do it. And then I went to, Oklahoma State to get my master's, and it kind of took off from there. Like I said, I've had great mentors that have pulled me along the way to, end up at CSU focusing on meat microbiology. And then I actually got a master's in public health as well, mainly with the goal of kind of like Cheyenne is saying, when you work in the association role, you're a little bit different. You don't get to be in the day-to-day actually producing food or influencing students. I like the idea of a cheerleader better, because most of the time I view myself as every morning I put on my suit of armor. My job is to go do battle with those who want to see not good things for the meat industry, whether it's, we do a lot of policy. So whether it's policy that's being affected over at USDA, or policy that's happening over at CDC, or policy that's happening from Capitol Hill, my job is to make sure that the industry is advocating for a sound science-based policy, as the associations, the association that represents really the packers itself, and that not the meat science part, but the packers in the industry, is I want to make sure everything we're doing is underpinned on a strong science foundation. And that's my role. And so oftentimes we want to lead with science, which means I better have my sword out and my shield ready to go. So I like the cheerleader idea better. I think I'm going to start changing my mindset there. A little less, dramatic than probably what I view when I get up. But yeah, I was frankly just lucky to have some fabulous mentors that showed me how diverse the meat industry could be.
Awesome.
Well, thank you a lot, KatieRose and Cheyenne, for sharing that. I think we're almost getting to the end of this, wrapping up. I'd like to ask you one last thing. Who do you look up to? And maybe like a book that has motivated you to become a leader in the meat industry, or something that has changed or impacted your life.
What a doozy of a question to have to try to pick who we look up to. Like, frankly, it's impossible to pick one. Like, frankly, I think that there's so many mentors and influential people that I can say I wouldn't be here today without, that I really look up to them and I still use them as mentors. And there's also colleagues that I would view as someone that is a peer, that, you know, like Cheyenne, for example. She is a peer, but certainly look up to my peers too as motivators to do better. So Francisco, I'm not going to answer your question because I
I'll put you in the
can't
spot.
pick it. You're not going to force me to pick. There's too many great ones. Speaking of that network we have.
I'm fine with that.
I look up to Cheyenne too, but that's just because she's taller than me.
There's so many people I look at and I'm like, I want to be them when I grow up. And then I meet someone else. I'm like, I also want to be them when I grow up.
And then we forget that we are nearing grown up. We still think that.
Nearing grown up. Well, I tell you, if anybody does want to answer that question on their own, like I've already mentioned, check out the board of directors for WMIN. These are some truly amazing ladies, and reach out to them. Is there a way to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. We're working on getting, like Cheyenne said, a lot of things set up on our website. And so soon there will be a form that you can fill out to say, I want to get in contact, and it'll be sent to our WMIN mailbox, and we'll forward that to that person. And they're absolutely happy to be a mentor and reach out. So like I said, certainly be watching our website. And I have to put one shameless plug in here too. We have, like Cheyenne mentioned, we're supposed to have our first in-person event at annual Meat Conference, which is something the Meat Institute co-host with FMI, but unfortunately we had to cancel it for a lot of really good reasons. So we're pivoting that event to a virtual event. And so details that will be coming out soon, but we're going to have an excellent panel of women talking about their experience in the industry, and specifically for some of them in meat policy and what they've done as leaders in the industry. And so I really encourage everybody to kind of get involved, watch the website, watch the stuff coming out of Meat Institute and the USMEF for that event, which will happen that first week in September. We're going to be having a virtual event and webinar, so stay tuned.
And we will also have social media soon, because for the youngins out there, I'm not putting myself in that group. That it will be coming by the end of the month, hopefully. So we will have a social media presence, and again, another way to build community, engage, and start connecting.
Whenever you have that, please email it to us, and we'll put it on the description of this podcast, and we'll love to share all this information. Thank you for joining us today. Do you have anything to ask, Dr. Bass?
No, it's just a pleasure to have these two amazing ladies with us, and hopefully we'll all get a chance to catch up again in person soon.
Looking forward to it. At the end of the day, I keep saying community, but we're all in this together, right?
Yep, absolutely.
So we're glad to be here and glad to be part of it.
Yep.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Thank you.